All right, welcome and thank you for tuning in to today's virtual power lunch with guest speaker Congressman John Carter. I'm Scott Swindell. I'm the board chair of the Round Rock Chamber this year. Before we get started today, I'd like to address a few housekeeping items. You'll notice that you are muted. All guests will remain muted throughout the program. But if you have any questions or need assistance, please use the Q&A function that's located at the bottom of your screen. Congressman Carter will be answering questions at the end of the presentation. So as questions come to mind, go ahead and use that Q&A box to send them over. We know this is quite different from our power lunches in the past. We miss seeing you guys, we really do. We look forward to when our medical folks tell us that we can start getting back together. But in the meantime, our staff's working really hard to keep our investors up to date on what's going on in the community, those issues that are important to all of us. So we appreciate you guys doing that. Please be looking at the weekly investor newsletter and looking at roundrockchamber.org to stay up to date on our calendar activities as we go forward. I see that we have a few elected officials that are with us today. I want to go ahead and recognize them. We have Matt Baker and Renee Flores, City Councilman with the City of Round Rock. We have Mike Freeman with Upper Brushy Creek Water Control District Board. I think I said all the words. And then we have Mike Robinson, former mayor of the City of Round Rock. Now, it's likely that we have other elected officials on board. Maybe I can't see you on the screen, or perhaps you've called in and we haven't identified you. For that, I apologize if that's the case. Regardless, we're grateful for each and every one of you and for the public service. We know it takes a lot, and we appreciate what you do. I'm excited to share with you that this year's Taste of Round Rock has been converted to a restaurant tour month. We have 27 great restaurants, breweries, and food vendors that you'll see on the screen here, which all will be giving away free samples throughout September. This self-guided tour will be a delicious way to go sample all of these places, and at the same time, you're going to be uplifting the local food industry businesses. So tickets are only $25, and it'll get you access to over $125 in food and beverages in the month of September. So you can go online at tasteofroundrock.com to learn more and buy tickets, and that $25 will get you an ebook of vouchers for all of those samples. I'd like to thank today's sponsor, the Round Rock Police Foundation, for making today's event possible. We're so thankful for your support. And at this time, I'd like to invite Kim Britton with the Round Rock Police Foundation to say a few remarks and to introduce our speaker. Kim?
Hello, my friends. I am Kim Britton. I happen to be with Kalahari Resorts and Conventions as well, a very proud volunteer with the Round Rock Police Foundation. The purpose of the foundation is to strengthen the alliance between our officers and the community, bolstering public safety and promoting a higher quality of life. The foundation supports programs, initiatives, and projects that are purposefully focused to complement the department's policing strategies, as well as help Round Rock Police Department employees and their families in times of need. The Round Rock Police Foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit organization that was formed by local volunteers of the Round Rock community. Its board members are not paid employees, therefore other minimal administrative costs to our efforts allow the vast majority of donations to be used for the purposes of supporting and assisting our Round Rock Police Department. Please know that I would be more than happy to answer any questions you may have to see how your volunteering may be put into purpose. It gives me great pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker today, Congressman John Carter. During his time as a district judge for the 277th District Court in Williamson County, John Carter aptly earned his nickname that has stuck with him to this day, Judge. On the bench, Judge was known for his no-nonsense approach to keeping our community safe. In fact, it was this mentality that encouraged him to run for Congress in 2002. Congressman John Carter has served as a U.S. representative serving Texas's 31st Congressional District since 2003 and prides himself on delivering results no matter the political environment. We are honored to have Judge with us today and deliver a congressional update. Thank you, Judge, for being here with us today.
Well, thank you, Kim. I had the pleasure of just about 20 minutes ago saying goodbye to Kim. We went over and she put on a great tour of what's going on over Kalahari. Wow, man, I'm telling you, Round Rock, you're in for a big surprise. That is going to be an awesome thing that's going on over there. It's almost beyond belief how big and how beautiful and how creative it is. It's a family operation and it's family friendly. And they've thought about just about everything you can think about, not only for adults to have a good time, but children to have a good time and families to go and rooms designed for them to be together. It's just really done well. And it's going to be fun, that water park, I'm telling you. You're going to be amazed. It's going to be a lot of fun. Well, I think if you're going to talk about what has been going on since the last time I talked to you, it's not any secret that what's been going on is the worst financial and economic disaster in possibly the history of the United States, brought on upon by a virus that has COVID-19 has literally attacked the United States worse than any attack we've ever had. And as a result of really a hard, tough choices that have to be made to try to, with the help of our scientists, figure out just exactly what's the best way to fight this, we've had to do something that any economics teacher can tell you will result in disaster. We had to shut down our economy. And with the shutdown of the economy, the jobless rate goes through the ceiling. And all of a sudden we are teetering on the edge of the Great Depression. And all because of nothing that we've done. In fact, we were probably moving into an era of prosperity that was going to be absolutely second to none, because the decisions we've made in the last 3 years have really had invigorated our economy in every sector. And we were looking forward to great days. But you shut down anybody, from the small businessman to the big corporation, what have you got? You don't have an economy. And everybody's sitting at home worried about what's going to happen next. Now, we still don't know for sure what's going on. Right now, as you all know, this is not news from Washington, this is news from Round Rock, from my District 31. All of our school districts are trying to figure out the best way to make sure our kids get a good education without raising the disaster of COVID-19 with more cases and more fatalities. So, you know, this is a top-down challenge for everybody. The president's had to make some tough decisions, and some of those decisions have been very tough, but they were with the advice of the medical community. I'm wearing a mask everywhere I go. You are too. That's part of the deal, and yet I can turn on the TV at night, or I can get a report from Washington, and one says yes, and one says no, and one says maybe. That's the way it's operating right now. So, as far as what the Congress is doing right now, we are waiting for a call back, which, as far as we know, is going to be Friday, to come back to Washington and try to do a supplemental for the previous supplementals that we've done for basically virus-related issues. The things that we have done so far, I think you know, but I want to go over them with you. These were all bipartisan responses. It overwhelmingly, both parties voted for this. The $7.8 billion emergency COVID-19 funding bill, I voted for it. The Families First Coronavirus Response Act, I voted for it. And the CARES Act, which I also supported, which developed the Paycheck Protection Program, which started out, and I was here in the district when we started opening up the PPP, and the first thing was, how does it work? How do I get it? How do I need to know how to do it? We spent a lot of time talking with our constituents and having conversations with our bankers, our constituents, and others, trying to make sure that everybody realized exactly what they had, was what they had, that program was, how it would work, and how it would be to their benefit, and the way for them to analyze whether or not it would be for their benefit. But overall, I think it was a good idea. The basic concept of the PPP program was, you've been asked to shut down your business for a month or more. And at the time, we didn't know. You've got employees that depend on you for their livelihood. You don't have anything for them to do when they're shut down unless you are lucky enough to have been declared essential. And so, but in turn, as your employees go out unemployed and they start drawing unemployment insurance, so, which we plussed up with a $600 bonus, your question as your employer is, how do I keep those people coming back to me when this thing is over? And so the PPP program was allowed those people who had businesses where having employees stay and work and get paid, they could stay attached to the business. And that would be that if you were paying salaries with PPP money, at the end of the program, if you showed you paid salaries with them, and some other things that were allowed, then it would become that loan would turn into a grant that you wouldn't have to pay back. And so there was a lot of confusion, and my staff, and I commend them, they do a great job. And they talk to a lot of people, a lot of bankers, and we got it rolling. Over 6,800 Texas 31 businesses received PPP loans, including 2,000 of them from the Round Rock area. Over $200 million has been awarded to various Texas 31 localities and organizations from the CARES Act in the forms of grants, including $25,000 to Round Rock Library and over $9 million to Williamson County, that made Wilco Forward program possible. So it was a package of loans and grants. We plus that up in the next package. And now we're looking at the current state of affairs, and there's a great debate. I think if you're turning on your television and watching the Democratic National Convention, you pretty well know what is holding up the negotiations that we're waiting on from Congress. Allegations that Republicans or the president is trying to shut down post offices so that people can't vote by mail. I'm not going to get into politics of that. That's not what we're here for. But we've been waiting for Nancy Pelosi. We left subject to the call of the chair. We were told it could be any day now, any week now. I have touched base with our leadership, and our leadership right now is not being included at all in the Republican leadership in the discussion. The discussion right now is really between the White House leadership and Pelosi leadership. Mrs. Pelosi has told us we're going to have a bill to vote on concerning the post offices. Don't ask me what's going to be in it because she hadn't told us on Saturday. And I really don't know. I hear the pundits telling you, well, they're going to say you can't close post offices or delay mail to prevent voting. Well, if that's what they're going to put out, that's what we're going to vote on. Maybe they're going to vote on the $25 billion that they want to propose to give to the post offices. Maybe that's what we're going to vote on, and that would be more in the area where I work, which is appropriations. Thus far, though, I don't think none of the appropriations I've talked to, including the ranking member, have any real knowledge of where we are on that. But something is going to be voted on, they tell me, this Saturday. But that's kind of up to Ms. Pelosi. And if we're waiting at her pleasure, I will be going to Washington to be ready to vote when they decide we're going to vote, I think tomorrow. So what do we need to do? I think we need to, and here's some of the things that each member was allowed to tell them what they thought we wanted to see in the bill. What I request for was increased Paycheck Protection Program funding and policy changes that streamline the forgiveness of those who utilize the loans. Let's make it clear so everybody knows what they're getting into, even clearer than we already made it. Liability protection for schools, businesses, and individuals. You don't want somebody walking in your store and buying something from you and they claiming they got COVID and they're suing you. So we're trying to give, and the schools are really concerned, businesses are concerned, quite honestly, all the local government's concerned about liability of the individuals and corporations that are doing business in our area, because it could become a massive lawsuit. And expand job skill education to those who are out of work due to the pandemic, to find roles in demand jobs. Now, we're hoping that almost everybody's going to get to go back to work where they were working. But there's no promise of that. You know, some of the businesses where people were working are not going to survive this shutdown. That's sad, but it's true. I mean, we hope and pray that's not the case in our area. But this was a major burden, and this decision was decided by the healthcare professionals. It was supported by the White House and by the Congress. It could be pretty bad. So we don't want the people that the business they were going to go back to can't get a job. And we've got retraining opportunities all over our part of the world. And so I wanted some of this stuff to be funds available for retraining people. So if they can't find a job in what they were working at, they can get retrained with skills that were saleable skills. Those are the things that I ask. What are going on with the negotiations right now? All of the negotiations that I've been told, and I'm an appropriator, so we should know the answer, is that they're being done in the Speaker's office. We're not, with the exception of maybe Ms. Granger, we're not even involved. My priorities were support robust support for the paycheck program. I think I said all that. Permanently rescind outdated telehealth policies that allow hospitals to bill the same rate for telehealth as for the telehealth services as they do for the regular services. Some hospitals actually have that ability and haven't been able to execute it. Others don't. And quite honestly, our medical professionals are out there in the forefront, and some of their businesses, because of they're having to be so tied up with the pandemic fight, those businesses are suffering too. So we want to make sure that proper reimbursements are proper reimbursements, and we should reimburse people for their services. The virus actually dominates our whole country and the whole conversation. But what we should be thinking about, we just go out there and look at that project, the Kalahari project. It's a dream that a family had, that with hard work, ingenuity, creativity, and a hard-working Texas spirit, which they quickly adopted when they came to Texas. In fact, I was just told, if you're going to do something like this, this is the only state to do it in. Because here, people care about getting things done. Well, with that kind of spirit, I'm really worried about the people of our 31st district who are frightened and scared of the future. We've been through lots of messes in our lives, and we've gotten through them, and we're going to get through this. And we're going to get through it first and foremost because we're Texans. And we live in a boom bust state, a state where one day it's 105 degrees and tomorrow afternoon it's 60. And after that it's 20. So we don't know what you're going to have. But whatever it is, we take lemons and we make lemonade. We make it work. So don't be scared. We're going to get back out there and get the job done like we've always done, and we're going to enjoy doing it. So all these folks that are hunkered down and scared, do the responsible thing. I'm all for it. Wear your mask, social distancing, wash your hands, do the smart things to do. I'm not advocating against that at all. I've got so many masks now, I have to make almost a costume change with my masks. But the real world is that's the right thing to do. But don't be frightened that when this thing will eventually, we'll have a vaccine. Eventually, we'll have treatments programs that will treat it successfully. And we'll eventually be back out in the great Texas sun, enjoying each other's company. Because the one thing we are is a social people who love each other. Every single one of us love each other. We're all proud to be Texans, all proud to be Americans, and we can overcome anything. So I worry more about the fear. I'm going to quote a Democrat here. Franklin Roosevelt said, "We have nothing to fear but fear itself," and we are in that position again now. There's nothing to be afraid of except being afraid. So trust the Lord and do the best you can, and you'll be all right. I'll be glad to answer any questions you have.
Well, Congressman, thank you so much. It's always great to hear from you. We are always pleased to have your message from the federal perspective, and we appreciate so much all you do as you represent our area and do so well. For the folks online today, and Congressman, I'll let you know, we've got about 60 people with us today who have joined the program, so this garnered a lot of attention. Everyone listening and watching online, if you scroll down to the bottom center of your screen and you click on the Q&A tab, that will pull up a pop-up on your window, and you can type in a question if there is something you would like me to ask the Congressman for you. Congressman, we've had a few questions roll in as people were getting registered. I think I'll just start with those, if that's okay. And then the one that I'd like to begin with, and this is one that you sort of hit on, as Speaker Pelosi has indicated, she's going to be bringing the Congress back into session to hear from, I believe, U.S. Postal Service Postmaster General Louis DeJoy next week, and that's going to be an interesting process. I know a lot of people in the area are just concerned about what can be done to ensure the U.S. Postal Service can fulfill its mission in just basically delivering mail. Seniors have been expressing concerns about receiving prescriptions on time, and then of course there's the added concerns about mail-in voting. Are there specific things that you're going to be looking for to hear from the postmaster or from other leadership this week as you're looking at what needs to be done?
Well, right now this is a political discussion. The question we have to really find out is what's going on. The post office has been working in the red now for practically as long as I can remember. Mm-hmm. And we're not talking about little bits of money. We're talking about losing billions and billions of dollars. And each new administration, each new postmaster that comes in has ideas as to how he can make this better. I do not know. It hasn't been reported to me that anybody has missed missed their mail. I'm on the rural route and I get my mail, even though I've got the city all around me. And I've never had anybody complain so far. And I don't believe any of my staff's had anybody complain about it. And this story of Social Security checks, I believe Social Security checks are now direct deposited and have been since about 12 or 14, I believe it was. I may be wrong about the date, but for a long time. So that's kind of a talking point. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go and ask him. I'm going to say, I'm going to be there. He's going to be there Friday, and I'm going to be there. And I'm going to ask him questions, and I'm going to talk to him about it. We're going to find out what he's got to say. Right now, there's a lot of discussion in the media, and most of the talking points are partisan, depending on what channel you're on.
Mm-hmm. Very good, Congressman. Thank you. I have another question, and this is from John as he registered, and this is something I know is near and dear to your heart and the heart of your staff that you work with. So I'm just going to read it verbatim, if that's okay. Thank you for all your help in bringing the Army Futures Command to Central Texas. Now it looks like BAE and other defense contractors are growing their presence here too, and that's just as we had hoped following AFC's move to the Austin area. Do you have any news on how this growing business sector is impacting us right here in Round Rock and Williamson County, and is there anything more that we can do to help?
You know, I'm very proud of the Futures Command. Was real excited about the concept, and I know the creative tech community that we live in, and how all these businesses around here love to think outside the box. And the basic concept is a dream. Dream up, in your opinion, Mr. Scientist, Mr. Engineer, what our warfare is going to look like in 2040, 2060, 2080, and in the next century. And then let's start planning for it. Dream the dream of what warfare is going to look like. Is it going to be drones? Is it going to be? We're trying to put a new combat vehicle in to replace some of the combat vehicles we've got right now. Right now the debate is on tracks or on wheels? It might be float on top of the air, like Star Wars. What do we know? So a lot of creativity in Austin area is really ripe with creativity. South by Southwest is a perfect example of how many creative minds come in here. And I think we're going to see, as far as businesses, the Secretary of the Army told me that when you fly into Reagan Airport and you look out the window across from Washington, and you see Boeing, Lockheed Martin, all these buildings. He said they're all for the Army moving to Austin. And so I look for them to come, and we will welcome them in the 31st Congressional District.
Well, Congressman, I just want to add, as the economic development lead entity here in our area, we are so grateful to you and your staff. You guys have been a super excellent source of help and guidance as we're trying to recruit companies here. So thank you for you and your team doing that. We appreciate it.
We're very blessed to live where we live and to have had the decisions made by past councils and commissioners courts that are giving us the kind of quality of life we're very proud of. And so we're glad to help. Thank you.
We had an interesting question roll in online. Again, I'm going to read this from my screen over here. It's related to workforce development for people that have been had a change in their workforce environment. Will there be increased workforce development funds available to support people who will need to transition their careers in this climate? Is there any talk about any sort of bills like that or support like that?
And that was my request for this phase 4. I wanted to see that kind of both grant and loan money and whatever other creative things we could come out to help re-educate and retrain our workforce as we start back to work. And I'm very supportive of that. Although I support all of our universities, and I went to 2 of them, and I support both of them, and higher education is important. But I decided, well, I'm now almost 10 years ago, that the trades are a lost art in America, and the rest of the world is getting ahead of us in trades, because trades are honorable professions.
Mm-hmm.
Plumbers, electricians, carpenters. These are people that make the world grow. They use what the engineers draw and they make them happen. We need those people. And so I've been doing, my job is to be an appropriator. But my advocation right now is to increase availability of alternative means of educating yourself for the trades and for other jobs that our society needs, our society wants, in healthcare, in every area you can talk about. We have people that we need those technicians, we need those trained, skilled people. Mm-hmm. And so I've been trying to create every opportunity I can. One of them I'm very proud of, with the Sergeant Major of the Army Daily, when he was Sergeant Major of the Army, he and I put together a program that we had a pilot out at Fort Hood, which allowed soldiers to get certified in areas that they've trained in the military. So when they get out, they don't have to wait a year before they can be certified to go to work. Mm-hmm. They can get certified while they're in the Army with a civilian certification in an awful lot of categories of various technical and trade things that they do and have done, some of them 20 years work in that area. And it was a failure point for our soldiers when they retired or left, in that they got out and had done maybe that work most of their life, but they couldn't go to work because they had to have certain certifications. We fixed that. Yeah. And now they're getting them. And now it's Army-wide. And that's a good deal. Yeah. Because soldiers make great employees.
Yes, they do. Congressman, while we're talking about Fort Hood, if you don't mind, we've, Fort Hood's been an amazing economic engine, I think, in this area, clearly, and all the communities in the Central Texas region are just very proud to have those soldiers and their families here. I love it, being new to the area, when I'm hearing soldiers saying, "I'm coming back here to retire." They want to do careers here. They want to stay in the area. Unfortunately, we've also seen Fort Hood kind of be in the news recently for some challenges with some troops. There was even, some discussion about the base naming type of issues. I'm just wondering, broadly speaking, do you have how many observations about what's going on with Fort Hood now, and where you see the future of Fort Hood along with Army Futures Command?
Well, when I first got Fort Hood in my district, which was back in 04. 04. General Metz was the commanding general of 3rd Corps. And I went down and sat down, and I've met with every 3rd Corps commander, unless they deploy before I get to meet with them. And Matt's told me, he said, remember this, a military post is a city. This is a military post that roughly has somewhere between 39 to 40,000 and 55,000 warriors in it, along with the service personnel to train them. It's basically a city of about 125,000 people. And in any city of 125,000 people, or even any city of 40,000 people, there's good, there's bad. Good things are going to happen, bad things are going to happen. Good people become involved, bad people become involved. It's inevitable. You can't have that kind of a load of people without all kinds of issues coming up. What has happened in the case of the young lady that was killed on Fort Hood is a disaster. I will say that I've been on that since day one. Now, my background is having been a judge, and so I know what criminal investigations mean, because they make those criminal investigations so they can present the evidence to the judge and jury on trial. And what we're learning in the press is we're not learning about criminal investigations because you don't talk about your criminal. Call the FBI about a case, and they'll tell you we don't comment on pending or impending cases. The same thing goes for what's going on at Fort Hood. They're definitely trying to find out the whys as well as the wherefores. We know what happened now. We found her. We found the horrible situation we got. Now they're trying to build their case against the people they have as suspects or have in custody, so they can present them to a proper trial of fact and law and convict them and appropriate punishment be executed. So we're not going to learn the whys until trial.
Yeah.
And then hopefully we'll learn the whys now. But I can promise you, every law enforcement agency we've got just about has been out there, Fort Hood, working on that case and the case of the young man that we ultimately found dead.
Well, thank you. Boy, we've got a lot of questions rolling in online, so I'm gonna try to grab a couple of these here and merge a few of them if that's okay too. One of them we've got Ann asking related to healthcare. Can you please share your thoughts about how we can protect access to healthcare for those who are losing their insurance, as we've had some people that are having job displacement? Is there any comments you can have for that?
Well, yeah, and that's a discussion that's going on right now in Congress.
Yeah.
I guess it's kind of like if they lose their insurance as a result of this, we still have opportunities to get people back in an insurance program. And some of the legislation that is a subject matter that should be in this number 4. To what are we going to do about people who've lost their job, therefore lost their insurance, couldn't afford to do COLA, and where are they going to fall and what's going to happen to them? Mm-hmm. That should be an ongoing discussion, and that's why it's frustrating that what we're fighting over is the difference. First off, let's all be real. $1 trillion is one heck of a bunch of money, way beyond the concept of most people. $1,000 billion, and $1 billion is $1,000 million. Now count that up, folks. That's a lot of money. Now we start off with a debate between we want $3 trillion in phase 4, $3 trillion. And it had everything under the sun in there, not related to the COVID crisis. And that immediately became a logjam. Bam, no. The president was saying $1 trillion. He's now flexed up to $1.5 trillion, maybe $2 trillion, but he hasn't gotten to true yet. Nancy says she'll compromise the true, but She hadn't met with him that I know of. So that's that debate. In that, this question should be beginning to be resolved. And the bottom line is, I saw a doctor talking the other day on a program on PBS, and he said, the real world is, if it's related to COVID, you're getting treated, whether you have insurance or not.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You're getting treated. Because that's the way our American medicine works. So the answer to this question, if you lose your insurance, it is a subject matter that should be in this ongoing discussion about COVID. We haven't gotten to that table yet. I'm ready to go.
Yeah. Well, we're going to look forward to hearing from you once the other folks up there kind of get things together and have a direction and something to vote on. That's got to be a difficult position to be in.
Yeah, and you don't have to rebuild the whole health. We are going to have to rebuild the healthcare system, but you don't have to do it for this subject. This is one we can deal with.
Yep. Yep. I'm getting a note from our folks. We've got time for one more question. I'm going to try to with all the serious stuff going on, I wanted to close out with at least an attempt to kind of think about some of the positive things that are happening. In my time working with other folks that serve in elected offices or Congress, I think often they'll frustratedly observe that the conflict is what gets in the news. Meanwhile, there's a whole lot of other work that just is happening and going along well. As appropriate an appropriator or on any of your committees, is there work that's proceeding and you're excited about that maybe hasn't gotten into the public eye that you'd like to talk about as a positive note?
Well, as it stands right now, and the House has passed out 10 of the, or 11 of the 13 bills out of the House. The Senate has not dealt with them. We don't know whether we're gonna, but there's a lot of good stuff and a lot of bipartisan agreement on an awful lot of good stuff. I am the ranking member, that's the top Republican on the subcommittee of military construction and veterans affairs. By the way, you're talking about people retiring in the 31st district. I have the largest concentration of veterans of any congressional district in the entire state of Texas, and number 7 in the nation. That's how many people come back to live in the Central Texas area after they get out of the Army. It's now 93,000 veterans in our 2 counties. And so concentration-wise, it's huge. We passed a good veterans bill. We passed a good military construction bill. We're ready for the Senate to come in. I work with a lady that is considered a very strong left, a Democrat, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, but we work cooperatively with each other. I know some people wouldn't believe it, but she and I are real good and get along real well. And she's helped me in with the things I want, and I'm pleased to work with Debbie. So it's a matter of your attitude. It's kind of like this. You got a job you got to do every day, and you need to get that job done. I got a job, and my job is to fund the government. And even though sometimes I don't like how we spend, and sometimes I got arguments with the other side, and sometimes I got arguments with my Republican colleagues. But the real world is you got to fund the government.
Yep.
And so I think overall, we've got a pretty good bill. And I'm very concerned about our military, and if we get what we've presented, we will have a package we can work with. That's the big question that we won't know until roughly October 1st.
Yeah. Well, Judge, I grew up in Nebraska, but no one's perfect, so don't hold that against me. I got to Texas as fast as I could. But I will tell you what, to this Nebraska kid, it's always good to hear, pragmatic coming together, even amongst parties that disagree. I think that's how good people get things done.
Parties are far apart on a lot of issues.
Yeah.
But we still can get, if we try, we can get things done.
Yeah. Hey, Judge, I got a note. I think I'm getting encouraged by folks to ask one more question. Can I ask you? Can we throw in one more question today? Would that be okay? And I promise this will be the last. We had one of the folks on the Q&A asking about another thing that's been in the news. Is there concern at the federal level about cities who are making drastic cuts to police departments? As a resident of Round Rock, are you concerned about the cuts in Austin?
Oh man, am I concerned about them. First off, I cannot conceive of why anybody would not want to have police. I mean, who do you call if something happens? If you abolish your police department, you can't. A social worker can't do a thing with a man that's holding a .45 automatic. I mean, it's the dumbest thing in the world to talk about doing away with police departments and punishing a police department in Central Texas for a bad deed that took place in Minnesota. That makes sense to me either. There are good people, like I was talking about Fort Hood, or any military base, any city. They're good cops, they're bad cops. Now our job is to weed out the bad cops, and we ought to do that. Now, nobody's going to get me to argue about that at all. When I was a judge, I helped weed some bad cops out, and other people did too. But overall, I will tell you this: I've been very impressed with the quality of every town in my district of our police forces. They are professionals. They do a good job, and they have a hard, tough job. So I am totally opposed to punishing the police for what was done. I am of the opinion that being a man who tried felony criminal cases, that the solution is try your case, get your conviction, and drop the hammer on them. And the message will go out, believe me. If you break the law, and I mean this for anybody who breaks the law, there has to be consequences. And you don't get to choose what law you want to break and say, well, I don't like that law, so I'm going to break it. That's fine, you get to do the punishment. That's me. And that's the way I think the world is. And our police are right in the middle of that every single day, and I support them wholeheartedly. I would rather increase and find the bad apples than go punish them for something nationwide. That's crazy, for something that happened. It just doesn't make sense. If we've really got this issue that we're talking about, then let's deal with the issue. But don't make them an ineffective force where the people who are trying to live safely in our subdivisions can't be assured that when there's somebody kicking in the back door, there's not a policeman coming in the front door to help you. And that's what we want. And that's what we've got to have. And we've got it in our area. Let's don't lose it.
Well, I first of all, I want to thank you, Judge, for your candid response to these questions. I know we've bounced around quite a bit. I appreciate your responses to these. Since we ended on police activity, I just want to thank, if he's listening or anyone from the city, Chief Banks, you're doing an amazing job for our community. We love your team and the work that you do.
Round Rock the Police Department is second to none, but all of our police departments are excellent, and they are doing the job. If they got problems, believe me, I'll speak for Round Rock, but I can speak for all of them. The top leadership is going to find the bad apples, and if we've got them, we're going to get rid of them.
Yeah. Judge, I've so enjoyed this time with you. I think the only thing that could have made it better is if conditions were making it so we could all be together today.
Yeah, it'd be a lot better if we were all together.
Yeah. I'm going to look forward to next year when we're able to do that, I hope. Yeah. So I think now we're going to transition into some just updates for our audience. But thank you, Judge. We appreciate your time today. Thank you. Lauren, if you want to bring up our screen for announcements here real quick. I just want to end on making sure everyone is aware that this year, Scott mentioned it at the beginning, we are so excited about this year's Taste of Round Rock. I can't think of another year where putting a spotlight on our restaurants and our businesses that make our community so special could be more important. So if you go to tasteofroundrock.com, again, that's tasteofroundrock.com there on the screen, you can download an app. You buy it, it's a $25 coupon book, but the important part is it gives you an excuse and some great deals to go out and give some business to these participating businesses. The story that I like to tell is these are the folks, these are the businesses that people like to share with visitors when other people come to the community. They're part of our culture. They make this place special. And right now, we're hearing from so many restaurants and breweries and bars, they just need more traffic. Yes, you can fully, safely participate in this program, socially distanced with masks. I think in most cases there's curbside service if you're more comfortable doing those things. So that's been taken into account. But please go check it out at tasteofroundrock.com. And then we've got several events in September. So please get out your calendars here, and we'll have them up on the screen here momentarily. On September 2nd, we've got our virtual 1 million cups at 9 a.m. That's the entrepreneurship program, and it's maintained some awesome programming here during this COVID time that we're going through. We've got our virtual Momentum Impact Report for Momentum investors. So if you're a Momentum investor, first of all, thank you for making that program possible. Second, we're doing a virtual event like this so people can get an update on where things are at with that program. That's going to be September 16th at 4 p.m. We're so excited that our new Vice President for Economic Development will be joining us at that. And so Jordan Robinson you'll have an opportunity to hear from Jordan Robinson at that. We've got our Cyber Club for Virtual Networking coming up on September 18th at 10 a.m. And then our next virtual power lunch, this next event, is going to be September 24th at 11:30. It's an important one. It's another one that's been in the news a whole lot lately, and that's diversity, equity, and inclusion. And we are so excited that we're going to have Nitzel Emmanuel who is the Director of Global Diversity and Inclusion from Dell Technologies, as one of our keynote speakers. And the other keynote speaker is Rick Wade, who is the Vice President for Strategic Alliances and Outreach at the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. We've got two people who have been heavily involved in helping our businesses and the nation kind of establish what best practices need to be in a business context to make sure that we are a diverse and inclusive business place so people can participate in it, engage in it, and pursue their own dreams as well. Last thing, as you know, many of our chamber events are going to be virtual through the remainder of the calendar year. I just want to ask you, please keep an eye on our weekly investor newsletter. That's a pretty good update of where things are at. Several people have been asking our team members, Jason, when can we get back together? And I addressed this in a recent article. One, honestly, I don't know. And two, it's going to happen when it's safe. And whether that's adjusting to safe events outside sooner than we can do events inside, if it's drive-through events, we have looked at everything under the sun. That's why we're trying to innovate with some of these new apps. And so we are going to find as many ways to create community and convene together as we possibly can. That is on our mind every week, and we're going to be very excited to talk about those as new opportunities arise. And so this concludes our program for today. Everyone, I want to thank you so much for sticking with us throughout the program. Again, I want to thank the Congressman so much for his time. We appreciate the hard work that he's doing in Washington for all of us. And we also want to thank the Round Rock Police Foundation. They made the program possible today. The Police Foundation is doing important work, and we appreciate and love you too. So everyone, this concludes our program. Thank you so much.